No, it's me. I'm here. You remember me, right?
Who are you?
Mom? Dad?
She opened her eyes on a Wednesday morning, and the first word out of her mouth was not his name. It was, "Who is this man? Get him away from me!" Elias froze. He had been sitting in the same plastic chair for 42 nights. He had slept in it, eaten in it, prayed in it. Her mother was holding her hand. Their daughter Lily was curled at the foot of the bed with a stuffed rabbit. 3 nurses were in the room. A chaplain stood near the door with a cup of cold coffee, halfway between staying and leaving. And the woman he loved looked straight through him. If stories like this move you, subscribe and like the video before we go any further, because what happens next will wreck you. Her eyes moved across the room and lit up at every face except his. She squeezed her mother's fingers. She reached for Lily and kissed her forehead. She thanked a nurse by name, said hello to the janitor she had always liked, waved weakly at the chaplain. Then her gaze drifted back to the stranger in the chair by the window, and her face tightened. "I asked," she said, voice rusty from 6 weeks of silence, "who he is." Her mother, Diane, didn't hesitate. "Nobody, sweetheart, just someone who keeps showing up. I'll call security." Elias stood. His knees had gone hollow. The right side of his neck had a knot in it the size of a grape from sleeping crooked every night. He watched the woman he had married 7 years ago stare at him the way you stare at a man in a gas station at 2 a.m. Suspicion first, kindness nowhere. "Lila," he said softly. "It's Elias. It's me." She blinked. Something moved behind her eyes, the way a fish moves under ice. Then it was gone. "Please," she said to a nurse, "ask him to leave." He left. He didn't argue. He didn't shout her name or grab her hand or drop to his knees and try to spark some memory the way they do in movies. He walked out of the room, out of the ICU, past the vending machine that had eaten his last dollar, out into the parking lot. He sat on the curb next to his truck and put his face in his hands. And for the first time in 42 days, he let himself cry. Not the clean kind, the ugly kind. The kind where you sound like a child. The accident had been his fault. He had never said it out loud, not to the police, not to his mother, not even to Marcus, his oldest friend, who had been the one to drag him out of the passenger seat and run half a mile for help. He had told the officer he thought a deer had crossed the road. He had told his mother the brakes had failed. He had told himself every night in that plastic chair that the black box would clear him, that the investigation would conclude what he already knew, that the man behind the wheel was guilty, and the woman in the passenger seat paid for it. Lila had been in a coma for 42 days. She had a fractured sternum, a collapsed lung, hairline fractures in 3 ribs, and a traumatic brain injury the surgeons called diffuse. Lily, who had been in the back seat in her car seat, walked away with a bruise on her shoulder and a fear of headlights she hadn't shaken yet. The car was a husk of twisted metal on the shoulder of Route 9. Elias had a scratch on his right hand. That was the joke of his life, that the man who did this got off with a scratch. He stayed on the curb for almost an hour. He felt the asphalt through his jeans. He listened to somebody else's radio playing country music 2 rows away. He thought about calling his mother. He thought about calling Marcus. He called no one. He just sat there until his hands stopped shaking enough to put the key in the ignition. Then he drove home, fed the dog, took a shower, looked at himself in the mirror, and tried to decide if he should come clean. That night, a phone call came from Diane. Her voice had the sweetness of a knife. "Elias, the doctors think memory loss after this kind of injury is selective. It's not uncommon. She's confused. She's scared. I'm asking you, as her mother, to give her space. Coming to the hospital isn't helping her heal. It's upsetting her." "My daughter is in that room, Diane. Lily is my granddaughter. She will be safe with me. You need to think about what is best for Lila right now, and the answer is not you in the corner of her room making her afraid." He wanted to say, She has every right to be afraid of me. He wanted to say, I did this. But the words jammed somewhere in his throat, because the moment he confessed, he would lose any right to be near Lily. He would be the man who killed her mother's dreams and walked away with a scratch. Okay, he said. I'll stay away until she's ready. Diane hung up without saying goodbye. 3 days later, his own mother, Ruth, called. She was harder than Diane in a different way. Ruth didn't raise her voice. She just laid facts on the table like bricks. Elias, I'm going to be honest with you. Lila's mother says you were the one driving that night. She says Lila told her, weeks before the accident, that you were drinking again. I want to help you, honey, but I can't help someone who won't tell the truth. Mom, it's complicated. Complicated is for people who didn't kill anyone. The line went dead. He sat in his kitchen for a long time. He opened the refrigerator. He closed it. He poured himself a glass of water and threw it against the wall because it wasn't whiskey, and he deserved whiskey. The glass shattered. He didn't clean it up. He stood in his socks on the broken glass and felt every piece cut through the cotton, and he didn't move. He stood there long enough that a piece of the shrapnel drew blood from his heel, and he didn't even wince. Pain felt deserved. Pain felt like a thing he could give back to her in some small way without her having to take it. 2 days after that, Marcus came by. Marcus had been avoiding him too. Marcus pushed open the back door without knocking, the way he had since they were 16, and sat at the kitchen table. He didn't look at Elias. He looked at the broken glass still on the tile. Jesus, brother. Leave it. I want to look at it every morning. You want to look at it every morning so you can keep punishing yourself without changing anything. That's not penance. That's theater. You don't know anything about this, Marcus. I was in the car. The room got smaller. I'm not the one who has to live with the blood on his hands, Marcus. I'm the one who's living with it. So sit down, or don't, but don't tell me what my glass shards mean. Marcus sat. He put both palms flat on the table. You need to talk to her. She doesn't know me. She knows everyone except you. That's the part that should terrify you, brother. Why? Because she's figuring it out? Because she's about to remember that I was the one at the wheel? Marcus was quiet for a long time. Because, he said, I think she's not figuring it out. I think she's protecting herself. I think her brain is doing her the favor none of us did. Elias laughed. It came out wrong. A favor. You want me to lie to you? I want you to tell me what to do. You mean you want me to tell you what to do so you can stop doing it? Elias sank into the chair across from him. If she never remembers, maybe I can still be in Lily's life. You want your kid to grow up thinking her father is a stranger? I want my kid to grow up without knowing what her father did. Those are the same thing, Elias. They are the same thing. Marcus pulled a folded piece of paper out of his jacket pocket. It was old. It was wrinkled. He put it on the table. I went back to the wreck, Marcus said. The state police cleared the scene, but I wanted to see. The car was gone. I found this under a guardrail 50 feet from where we stopped, where the EMTs had driven through. It must have flown out of her purse, or her pocket, or I don't know. Elias unfolded the paper. It was a printout, a photograph of a sonogram. He stared at it. She was pregnant, Marcus said. She had the appointment the morning of the accident. She was on her way to tell you. She had the picture in her jacket. She printed 2 copies. She was going to put one on the fridge and surprise you with dinner. She had a candle. She was going to make that stupid roast you like. She had a card. She told me this on the phone 2 weeks before. Because she called asking what chocolate you liked, and I didn't know, so she hung up on me. Elias closed his eyes. He had spent 42 nights in a chair, begging her to wake up so he could apologize. He had never once considered she had been carrying something good into that car. "Where did she put the other copy?" Elias asked. "I don't know," Marcus said. "Maybe it's still in her things at the hospital. Maybe she has a journal. Maybe she doesn't." Elias didn't reply for a long time. When he did, his voice was barely a sound. "If the baby survived, didn't. How do you know?" "Because I asked. Because I sat across from a grief counselor 2 days after the wreck and signed a paper that said I understood our child did not make it. They don't say it like that. They say there was no fetal heartbeat detected. But it means the same thing." The kitchen light buzzed. Elias held the sonogram in his shaking hand and thought about the dinner she had been planning, the surprise, the way she would have stood in the kitchen doorway with her hands behind her back, grinning like a teenager, the way she did with everything good. "I should go," Marcus said. He stood. He didn't touch Elias. He didn't hug him. "Marcus." "Yeah. Why did you really come back here tonight?" Marcus paused at the door. "Because I think you are going to do something stupid, and I want to be wrong about you. If Lily asks me tomorrow what kind of man I am, what should I tell her?" "Tell her the truth. Then see if you have to live with it or if she does." Then he left. Elias sat in the quiet house with the sonogram on the table next to the broken glass. The dog came and lay at his feet. The clock ticked. He thought about leaving. He thought about a town in Montana where nobody knew his name. He thought about a life where Lily would grow up and he could be a stranger she met once at a wedding. A man with a kind face and sad eyes. An uncle she liked for some reason. A man who came in for Thanksgiving because her mother liked him. He thought about it seriously. For about 20 minutes. He pictured the bus ticket. He pictured the apartment he couldn't afford on the other end. He pictured the way he would explain to himself, in 5 years, why he'd done it. And he knew, walking through that lie in his head, that he would die under its weight wherever he went. Then he folded the sonogram back into its creases, put it in his wallet, and went to bed. He didn't sleep. The next morning he drove to the hospital. He didn't go inside. He sat in the parking lot with the engine off and the windows down. He watched Diane walk Lily in at 8:14. He watched Diane leave at 8:31. He watched nurses change shifts. He watched a doctor go in, pause, and come out looking troubled. He watched a man bring flowers and a card. He watched a man who was not him, and he hated that man for beating him there, and then he hated himself for hating that man, because the man with the flowers was a friend from Lila's book club, and he was allowed to care. After 3 hours, he left. He drove to a hardware store. He bought a piece of plywood. He drove to the house. He went up to the attic. He dragged out a box of Lila's old things she had never unpacked from their last move. Underneath a quilt her grandmother had made, there was a leather journal, the kind with the gold clasp she had kept since college. He opened it. He had never read it before. He had promised her he wouldn't, and he hadn't. And now he broke the promise, because he had no more promises left to keep. He turned past the early pages, ticket stubs, recipes, one sad poem about a lake, a list of things she wanted to do with Lily before Lily turned 10. He reached the last entry. It was dated 2 days before the accident. Elias came home late again, smelled like beer. We talked about it in the kitchen. He cried. He said he'd stop. I believe him. I want to believe him. If I'm wrong, it's not just me anymore. It's her. It's the new little one. I printed the picture today. I'm going to tell him tomorrow. I am so scared, and I am so excited, and I don't know what to do with both feelings at the same time. If something happens to me, I want Lily to know I loved her father when he was trying. I want Elias to know I forgave him in advance because I knew he would fail again, and I wanted to be ready for him when he did. He closed the journal. He held it against his chest. He sat on the attic floor and pressed his face into the leather and breathed in the smell of her. Old perfume, paper, hair. And for the first time since the wreck, the guilt didn't sit on him. It sat under him, and he was kneeling on top of it, which is to say it was still there, but it had stopped being the boss of him. 3 more days passed. Elias didn't go to the hospital. He called every morning. Diane answered. Diane said Lila was eating, walking, learning to be Lila again. Diane said Lily was doing fine at school. Diane said, "She's resting, Elias. You should rest too." Diane said everything that needed to be said without saying the thing that needed to be said, which was that Lila had asked Diane twice that week whether anyone had been arrested for the accident. "You know the answer," Ruth had said when Elias called her. "I know the answer, and I am the answer, Mom." "Then say so." "I can't, not yet. I need to be looking at her when I say it, and she's not ready to look at me." On the 7th day, the phone rang at 11:47 p.m. It was Lily. "Daddy?" "Lily Bear, what's wrong?" "Mom woke up crying. She wanted the baby. She said the baby's name was June. I don't know a June. Did you know a June?" His daughter was 7. She didn't understand. He didn't know how to make her understand. He picked the softest lie. "Yes, baby. June was someone your mom loved very much. She keeps asking for you, but she says she doesn't know you. That's weird, right? That she asks for you but doesn't know you?" "How do you mean, sweetheart?" "She said, last night, 'I want the man with the cut on his hand.' I said, 'What man, Mom?' And she said, 'The one with the cut. He pulled me out. He saved me, and I don't know his face.'" Elias's right hand, the hand with the scar, went numb. He had held it against her face in the wreckage. He had cut himself on the windshield pulling her out of the bent frame. Blood had dripped onto her cheek. His voice had called her name 40 times. He had stroked her hair while they waited for the helicopter. He had pressed his forehead against hers and begged her to stay. She had seen all of it. Her brain had stored every part of him except his face. "Will you come tomorrow, Daddy?" "Yes. She might be scared of you." "I know. Are you scared of her?" "No, baby." "Are you lying?" "Yes." "Okay," Lily said. "That's okay. Good night, Daddy." "Good night, Lily Bear. I love you." "I love you too. Even if Mom doesn't remember you, I do. I just thought you should know that, in case it helps." It didn't help. It broke him. He put the phone down on the kitchen table, and he sat in the dark for an hour with his hand open on the wood, the scar pointing up at the ceiling, as if waiting for a verdict. The next morning, he stood outside her hospital room. He had not showered. He had on a clean shirt his mother had left on his porch in a paper bag with a note that said, "Wear this. You smell like a bar." His right hand had a fresh Band-Aid because he had opened the scar picking up the broken glass he never swept up. He looked at the door. His hand shook. He went in. Lila was sitting up in the bed. Her hair had been brushed by Diane. She wore the blue cardigan her sister had brought from home. She looked thinner. She looked older. She looked at him, and her face did the tight thing it always did. "Mr. she began. "Lila, I came to say goodbye." She stopped. The room, for the first time since she'd woken, went genuinely quiet. Even the heart monitor seemed to take a breath. "I'm leaving," he said. "For a while. Maybe forever. Your mother is right. I'm making things harder. Lily can visit me when she's older, when she's old enough to understand some things that I need to explain to her, and only then." "Explain what to her?" He flinched. He had not meant to say that. "Things about me, about the accident, about mistakes." He didn't say more. He stood there like a man on a stage who had forgotten his lines and was now just standing in the light, hoping someone would cut the scene. Lila watched him. Her eyes moved across his face, his shoulders, his hands. They landed on the Band-Aid. Something in her jaw went loose. "What's wrong with your hand?" "Cut," he said. "From broken glass, a while back." "Can I see it?" He hesitated. He had not planned this. He peeled back the Band-Aid slowly, like a man unwrapping something he wasn't sure he was allowed to give away. The scar was an inch long, white at the edges, pink in the middle, ugly and obvious. Lila made a sound that wasn't a word. Her hand came up. Her fingers hovered over the scar but didn't touch it. Her eyes had gone hazy. Her mouth was moving but nothing was coming out. "Lila?" She whispered something. "What?" "You pulled me out," she said. I'm sorry?" "You pulled me out of the car. Your hand was bleeding. You were screaming my name. You were crying. You pressed your head against mine. You said, 'Stay, stay, 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 stay.'" He couldn't breathe. "I don't remember your face," she said, "but I remember your voice saying it. I remember your hand. I remember the blood on my face. I remember the sound of glass being broken twice, once by the crash, once by your knuckles on the windshield when you couldn't get the door open and you beat it open instead. I remember all of that. And I remember, after you pulled me out, I tried to say your name and I couldn't. I tried. I said, 'E,' and then I stopped. And then I forgot you. And now I'm remembering you piece by piece, and the pieces are coming back in the wrong order, Elias, and I'm scared because I don't know which part of you is going to come back last." She grabbed his hand. She pressed her palm flat against the scar, and he felt her fingers close around his wrist, and something behind his ribs unlocked like a window that had been painted shut for 42 days. "I'm sorry," he said. And he meant it the way a drowning man means it when the rope finally pulls him up. "Don't be sorry," she said. "Tell me what you did. Tell me the truth, whichever truth it is, even if it's the bad one. I'm tired of being lied to by everyone who loves me." He sat on the edge of the bed. He took her other hand and he began to talk. He told her everything: the whiskey, the road, the lies, the sonogram in his wallet, the baby whose name was June, the grief counselor, the guilt, the scar. The way he had almost run to Montana and left Lily to grow up thinking he was a stranger. He told her about Marcus coming in and laying it on the table like a brick. He told her about Diane, who was trying to protect her in a way that was also trying to put Lila on a pedestal that wouldn't crack. He told her about Ruth, who had hung up on him and who still, every Tuesday, called to ask if he had eaten. He told her that he had poured water at a wall because he wanted it to be whiskey and he didn't trust himself around the cabinet. He told her all of it. He did not edit himself. He did not choose which sins to confess and which to grandfather in. He gave her the whole dirty pile. She didn't interrupt him. She didn't forgive him halfway through. She let him finish. She let him sit there afterwards sweating, the way a man sweats who has just rolled a confession under somebody else's door and is waiting to hear it land on the other side. When he was done, she was quiet for a long time. Then she reached for the side table and pulled open her wallet, the one Diane had been keeping safe for her since the wreck. Inside, behind her license, was a folded piece of paper. She handed it to him. It was the second copy of the sonogram. She had put it in her wallet the morning of the accident because she had wanted to look at it every day until she was ready to show him. "I was going to tell you at dinner," she said. "I had written a speech. I had practiced it in the car. I was scared you'd cry. I was scared you'd be so happy you'd lose your balance and spill something. I knew exactly which fork you would set down first. I knew your whole face before I ever saw it. I knew your hands. I knew your scar was going to come from helping me before I knew it came from hurting me. I knew, Elias. I knew both, and I loved you with both. He looked at the picture. He looked at her. I don't have June, she said, but I have Lily, and I have you. And I have a hand with a scar that fits mine. That's enough to start with. He laughed. Then he cried. Not the ugly kind this time, not the child kind. A different kind. The kind that comes when you have carried something by yourself for so long you forgot it had a weight, and someone else picks it up, and you feel, just for a second, what your body was doing to you the whole time. You won't remember my face tomorrow, he said. You told me that. Maybe not, or maybe I will. But listen, Elias, I have spent the last 6 weeks remembering pieces of you by accident, like finding coins in a coat I forgot I owned. I am going to keep finding them. And one day, I'm going to find your face in a drawer somewhere and put it back where it belongs. And if I don't, if it doesn't come back at all, I will learn you again. From the hand up, I have the scar. I have the sonogram. I have a daughter who remembers you. I don't need the face. I need the man who pulled me out and stayed. He pressed his forehead against hers, the way he had done in the wreckage, the way he had begged her to stay. She did the thing he had been praying she would do. She stayed. And he realized he had been wrong about one thing. She didn't forget him. She had been protecting the last piece of her heart that still loved him until he was ready to come back and be worthy of it. If this story stayed with you, leave a comment below with one word, just one, telling me how it felt. New videos every week. I'll see you in the next one.